All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening, I guess I should say. This is Deidre with Are You a CPS Victim Like Me? Haven't been on here for quite some time, but I talked to Mr. Davis a couple weeks ago and he said, "Hey, are you doing a show?" And I said, "No, but I'd like to." And so here we are. I'm going to be doing my show every Monday and Wednesday at 5. So anybody out there that wants to come on and share their story, I would love to have you because, again, I feel like this is one of those topics where parents wouldn't know what they know unless they came across a show like this and got the information that I know I've received from this platform. And again, I am doing this under attorney Vince Davis. He's out of basically Southern California, but he goes all over the world because this unfortunately happens all over the world. So again, I'm not going to speak too much and take too much of the time, but we have a guest tonight. Her name's Amanda, and she's going to be sharing her story. And just a side note, Mr. Davis was going to join me this evening, so if he pops in some way throughout the show, then we will, of course, welcome him with open arms. And hopefully Amanda can utilize the time and ask some questions. But if not, then we'll just continue with Amanda's story. And anybody that wants to, feel free to type in any comments just to go along with or questions, feel free to do so and we'll try and answer them. But other than that, Amanda, it's on to you. You want to say where you're from and go from there?
Amanda, I'm from Missouri, Springfield, Missouri. And where to start? So,
well, let's kind of maybe guide you in a way. What year did CPS first come into your life? Put it that way.
I think it was 2015 was my first interaction with CPS. I'm an adopted child, and I had an adoptive family that really felt entitled to my kid, it felt like, and they kept trying to separate us, and they started using CPS to try to separate us. But at first they just started coming in and everything was completely unfounded. And then in 2015, I had an incident where my best friend murdered basically my bonus kids and then took his own life. And that sent me down the rabbit hole of depression, and I attempted suicide. And my family used that as their in to take my child from me.
Okay, let me interrupt you if you don't mind, just because so we can all kind of have more into your story. So when they first came into your life, how many children did you have?
Just one
Okay,
daughter.
And then were you still with your daughter's father?
No, my daughter's father, he decided that he didn't want to be involved in her life. And then I have a really broken picker and he was arrested for murder. So I didn't have to deal with him at all. It was just my daughter and me. Yeah, we were doing really well.
He's like gone for forever because of murder charges, right?
No, he actually only got like 7 years running concurrent for 2 murders. But he. Oh. Yeah, it's a lot. I broke.
Okay, so baby daddy is not in the picture for that amount of time. No. So how old was your daughter though when they came to?
The first time they came in she was 3.
Okay.
It was a call. I can't remember what the first one was, but I remember the second one was because I had taken her into Walmart without her coat on in the winter. But you shouldn't have coats in the car seat. So like I would just layer her up with a fleece and stuff like that.
Anything that anyone can find. It's like once they're out to get you. I mean, we all know that half of these allegations are made up to begin with. So it's like whatever they decide to go with is already going to be so far-fetched in your mind. But then when they pick something like that, like, come on, like dirty dishes on the sink, you're like, come on now.
Are we not allowed to be human? That's what Am I not allowed to be human? And when we got in the store, it was ironic because the person who called, I told the CPS worker, I said, listen, if you looked in our cart, there were 4 layers of clothes in there because my child was begging me to take them off. She was hot. So that was, at that time, I still didn't realize how bad it was. Like I said, okay, you can come in. I don't have anything to hide. I was one of those. I've very much changed that view now, but I had that.
As parents that are truly not abusive or neglectful or whatnot, when you see somebody like that come that are supposed to be protecting children, and deep down inside that you're an awesome mom. Yeah, you might have your human days of not bringing a coat or whatnot, but you're like, yeah, come in, but never would you think that they are what they are, meaning they will just find anything, and just
Like,
Yeah.
and
So now,
sometimes
were
it's
you with the dad though of your bonus kid? Sorry, I keep
no,
interrupting you.
no.
Okay.
Him and his wife were my best friends. Like we were basically family. My family was not supportive of me. I have a very like I'm one of those natural minded people who's kind of like hippy dippy, whatever, like using a chakra poster on the wall. And my adoptive family was very into modern medicine, very like you need to do it this way, and so they had very differing views on how parenting should look than what I did. They were always telling me I needed to leave her to cry so she could learn how to get over it. And I'm like, but no, I need to hold my baby. So
Mhm.
they really pushed back against me with how I parented my child. And so then this incident happens, and the children were 2 and 4 years old. And that's something that like you see on the news and you're like, oh, I know the people in my life. That would never happen to me.
Repeat
Um,
what happened. Now I forget. They
so
were murdered.
yes, him and his wife were going through a pretty hostile divorce, and he murdered the kids and then took his own life. Um,
Oh my
it
gosh. Were you? Was she there? The wife at the time?
no, thank God
So
she
she
wasn't
came
there.
home to all three of them deceased.
Two of them. They were not
Well,
living
he
together.
killed himself though, right? Oh, they weren't living together.
They weren't living
Oh my
together. There was
goodness.
there was a 19-hour standoff with the police, but they couldn't do anything because the divorce wasn't finalized. So there was no court order parenting plan, so they couldn't go in. They just had to wait it out,
Mm.
basically. But after
And
the
how are these
autopsy,
people affiliated with you? I'm forgetting now too.
they were literally my family. They were my best friends.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I lived with them for a while because I had a very tumultuous relationship with my family, and so I mean, I can't name names, but my other daughter called her daddy and then his name and then mommy, her name. Like we were basically an integrated, functional, we could babysit each other's kids while we went to work. It was like that
So
family
one
thing
day
that I
you
never
wake up and you
experienced.
have this family living with you and your daughter, and then the next day they're gone, type of thing. Oh, wow.
Basically, yeah. Yeah. The
And then
next
you
day,
had to continue like kind of living with her and witness all her grief as well.
no,
The mom
I was
slash wife,
living,
or
I had moved in with my parents at that time.
oh, okay.
I was living back with them, and they were a week and a half after the incident. My adoptive mother told me, I noticed you haven't been doing schoolwork. And I was like, no, because I talked to the dean and my professors. I was in college at the time. And we decided I should just come back next semester after I've had some time to process the trauma. And I remember her looking at me and she said, well, Amanda, the whole world doesn't just stop for you. Sometimes you just have to
Oh,
suck it up and move on. And I was like,
I get that all the time. They're like, everything doesn't revolve just around you, or it isn't just about you. And as much as you're trying to say, I don't want it to be about me, but it kind of
I don't,
is
it
in a
kind of is
way.
right now. Like my whole world just stopped. Like that's what I told her. I said, my whole world just stopped. I don't even know how to function right now. I don't know how to process this. I was lost. And so I kept being the mom that I was. I mean, I was depressed, but I was still pushing as hard as I could because I loved being a mother. Like that was
Hmm.
my whole world centered around my little girl. Like she was my pride and joy. And so then I started dating a guy and I moved in with him. It wasn't going well. And in 2019, I attempted suicide. Um, my daughter wasn't there. She was with my family at the time. She went for the weekend, and I just all the grief just hit me. Like I was
Hmm.
broken. I remember right before I was trying to convince myself that like you're loved, you have a family, you have a boyfriend who loves you, you have your daughter. I was trying to convince myself of all these things, and I obviously couldn't. I woke up in an ambulance, and
Do you mind me asking what your, I don't even know the correct word, but form of attempted suicide you
I
did,
hung
or,
myself.
oh,
I hung
and you
myself.
survived?
Yep, I did. I didn't regain
Someone
my
found you,
composure.
or you didn't
Someone
do it?
found me. My brother, I
Oh,
guess my brother came to bring my daughter back to me, and he found me in the bathroom.
so he
Yeah,
basically saved your life.
he did. He did, but he took my daughter, so he took my life as well.
Oh
Um,
no. See, my family is half guilty of my story, so I'm feeling you so immensely right now because as much as I'm witnessing your pain and your words, I feel like I already know the outcome because the terminology you're using with your daughter, meaning you said your daughter was everything to you. Meaning I know she will always be everything to
Always.
you till future end, but when you use past tense, you kind of already are knowing what your end.
Haven't seen her for 4 years.
Oh
Four
my
and a half.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Um,
Wow. And your brother has her then?
my brother and my sister-in-law. Yep.
See, and that's what CPS does too. They take your family. It's like the typical saying, divide and conquer. They want to divide you all up from whatever family you think you do have and make up this whole scenario about you, your family member. Like here with, it was me with my mom with my two older kids. I mean, I'm her daughter. And it was almost like at the end, they had her so brainwashed that literally she would tell my kids and me, still to this day, well, if they haven't given them back to you yet, then you still must be doing something wrong. And I'm like, what part of this whole story do you not
What do
understand
you
is
not
wrong from day
understand?
one? Like,
Yeah.
what don't you get about this? But again, then it's the money. Is I would
Yep.
never in a million years think that my mom would number one keep my kids from me, but then keep my kids from me because really she got addicted to the money and is still addicted. And now is living
Yep.
a lifestyle off of it, not meaning any of the money necessarily goes to my kids, which is against, technically illegal. But still, it's just sad to think at the end of the day, she won't ever really want to give them back on her own, like will because of the money.
Yeah. It's not
I
about
mean,
the
it's
kids.
just
It's not
that's
about
what
the
the
kids.
whole sickness of this corruption is really when you come down to the very core of it, what are these people doing this for? For the funding. They
The
literally
funding.
kidnap our kids, they sell them out basically because all these incentives that these social workers get. And then, if
Yep.
they adopt them out, because that's what happened to my youngest, meaning he wasn't
Another
even born
incentive.
when my case opened, he wasn't born, he was in my stomach, but yet that's the child I lose permanently. Like, how is that even possible?
It
And it's
doesn't
like,
make. But when you're dealing with them, you have to throw all logic and all like
no, but then you
nothing.
learn all of the sickness of the game too late in the game because you
Yep.
never really want to believe that you live in America and that this is what's really going on. Still, I wake up every morning sometimes and I'm thinking, I can't believe that I'm still living a life without my kids, like, and will continue to until, a godly miracle might happen. But still, it's just, why can I not be with my kids? Like,
I feel you
why
there
does my mother get to
100%.
have them? And
Yep.
really, they always say what's the best interest of the child, but really, the
It's
child is the
not.
one that ends up losing out at the end
Yep.
because
And
they're not happy where they
you
are.
know, I've got this perspective of I'm an adopted child. I know the
Oh,
trauma that
yeah. See,
adoption
I wanted to
causes.
ask you about that. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm an adopted child. I feel like I already had a target on my back because I was taken from
you
my mom.
did. And
I,
that's
I
what they
feel
do
like,
too. They do it.
yep,
They do
I
it to
feel
the
like I
children.
already
Like
had it.
now, my kids, and now your daughter. Your daughter will end up probably being in the system if she has kids, and that's the sickness of it too. Is they keep the cycle going because it's like once you're in, you're in. Like if I were to have another child and I go to the hospital to give birth, no matter if I were to move out of state, I feel like once my social hits that database, it's like a red flag. Like,
Yep,
oh, she already
here I
had
am.
CPS take her kids. Here we are
But I,
again.
well, I've got some irony for you. So my first daughter is with them, and I,
Got
I will
pregnant
admit,
again.
I will
Oh,
admit that I did get pregnant again. But
oh.
during COVID is when my child was in the system and I was up against my family and the entire system and I had no support and I failed. I failed my child. I failed her. I did. I couldn't fight and I broke. I ended up homeless on the street, addicted, with a needle in my arm. I literally
Oh,
was that
yeah.
traumatized. Yeah, it was bad. And by the grace of God, I'm clean and sober today. I'm awesome. 2.5 years.
Oh,
Thank you,
that,
Amen.
see, that
So
right
yeah,
there should be a
yeah,
reason to wake up every day.
it is. It is. And so I ended up pregnant and homeless during COVID. And by the grace of God, I have that child now. But they've opened 3 cases on me so far. 3.
They're trying to take that child, aren't they?
They're trying so hard, so hard.
Oh my
She was.
gosh. They didn't take
She's
this child straight from the hospital though, did they?
nope. And the ironic thing is, I was on drugs whenever I went to go have her. I had no prenatal care. I was in a very abusive relationship where the guy wouldn't let me go seek any prenatal care. Every time I tried to leave, he would try to kill me. So I just stayed, and then I escaped, and I had my child, and the social worker I got gave me like very specific steps to take. And I said, okay, cool, I can do that. And I called her the next morning and I said, okay, I got this appointment, this appointment, this appointment. And I kept her. And then I pulled myself into a homeless shelter. And at that homeless shelter, I ran in the middle of the night. I was there for 6 months and I saw things that were not okay. And I ran in the middle of the night begging for help. I was
with your daughter?
With my daughter in my arms. She was 7.5 months old. I was very forcefully thrown to the ground by 4 police officers, and she was ripped from my arms, screaming bloody murder like a movie scene. Please don't take my baby. And she was screaming bloody murder.
Wait, where did these police come from?
Because I was begging for help.
Like just out on the street?
So I ran to the gas station that was across the street from the homeless shelter, and they called the cops. And
can I ask you if you were using at that time or no? No, right?
I was.
But they probably assumed that you were because of the circumstances.
Everyone tried to convince them.
Well, yeah, because if you see a lady at a gas station with a 7.5-month-old screaming for help, you think, okay, what is this lady on, or what's really going on? You know, they just automatically judge. But to do what they did to you,
what they did to me was the night before I ran, I had filed a police report because I had a front office worker whose husband was trying to proposition me and trying to get me to use drugs. And I said, this is not okay. And so I ran the next night. And
oh my gosh.
And then the officers,
did you get the shelter in trouble?
It's demolished now.
Oh.
It's demolished now. So I did what I could there. But then
that's why they're maybe still after you though. I don't know. Yeah, so sorry, I keep interrupting you. I have a bad habit of that.
I don't like to say this, but I'm a targeted individual. Like I'm
not
quiet. I'm not quiet. I won't be quiet. They're not going to make me be quiet. I'm never going to be quiet. Like what they do is not okay. And so at the gas station for 4.5 hours, they wouldn't let me nurse my baby because she was exclusively breastfed. They wouldn't let me nurse her. She's starving. I got her back.
Now, if you did that, though, they'd take the baby and say you were neglecting it because you weren't feeding it. If I had her in my arms and I was in a fight and 4 people threw me to the ground, then they would have told me that I was putting my baby in an unsafe situation. But it was totally fine for them. And so then they stuck me in a psych ward. I was there for 96 hours. They forced me to stop pumping in the psych ward. I was in so much pain. It was ridiculous. They can do that? They can do that?
They did to me. Yeah, they did.
Oh, my God.
I was in so much pain. I was just soaking through shirts repeatedly, and I was crying in pain. Please let me pump. And they were like, well, you could go Hand Express them in the bathroom.
Hand Express? What? I've never even heard that terminology. Is that even possible?
Yeah. That's what I was told. You can go Hand Express.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
That just sounds disgusting.
It was horrid. It was absolutely horrible.
And they didn't even give you any medicine to help, like, speed up this process for you? You just had to do it naturally?
Yeah. And why are you forcing me to stop pumping? Why are you forcing me to stop pumping in the first place? I'm going to get out of here and continue pumping for my baby. Breast milk is what's best for my baby. But they ruined our
they did everything backwards.
Yeah, they completely severed our nursing relationship. And then all my drug tests came back clean. I didn't use anything. I was prescribed meds by a doctor, but I took them as prescribed. And then, let's see, I got out of the
So when you get out of the psych ward, where was your baby then at that time?
She was a foster family. Well, from what I've been told, despite my very insistence at not taking her to my family. I mean, I was very insistent. I don't want her to go there, period. Do not take her there.
It's almost like they want to take them there. They're like, oh, why?
They did.
Yep. Oh, I knew it. The more you tell them no, the more they're like, yes, we are then.
Yeah. So they did.
Oh, man.
My baby she's a boss, okay? She's an OG. And she screamed for 17 hours straight until they sent her back.
Send her back where?
Back to the social worker.
She was too much for them?
Yeah. But they have my other child, right? Yeah.
Oh, Lordy. Yeah. Oh, wait. So they sent your newest baby to your brother?
Uh-huh.
I thought they sent him to like your mom and dad, your adopted mom and dad.
Nope,
No,
to
to
my
the brother.
He's my adopted
Now,
brother.
is that brother adoptive as well? Like you guys aren't blood related? So
Yep.
he has his own family, you have your own family, but you're only related because you're both adopted by the same parents.
Yep.
But yet he still wanted to be sick like that and take your kid.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever met your birth family?
I met my birth mom once, but my
You
adoptive
found
mom
her?
was there. I did, and my adoptive mom was there whenever I met her. It was really uncomfortable. And then when I've been going through this process again, I was like, okay, I really need some answers. Like, I really need some answers, right? And so I go and I try to find her. And guess what? She died on my adoptive dad's birthday.
Oh, how old were you when you saw her last?
21, and I'm
Did
40
you ever?
now.
Why did your adopted mom then have to go at the time with you? You're an adult.
Because my
Peace
sister
out.
wanted, I know, right? She was very controlling and very
And you were probably
controlling.
still living with her, right? So meaning
No,
she's still always,
no.
oh, I was gonna say
Um,
usually they keep a thing over you where you're stuck in a
no,
way.
my adoptive sister, who is my biological sister, wanted to meet her as well, and she's 7 years younger. So my adoptive mom used that as like well, I'm going to be there too because she's too young. And I was
So you have a sister as well from
I
the
do.
same birth mom.
Yep.
And the adoptive parents got her as well?
Yes. They
Don't
did.
you think that's kind of ironic? Meaning,
I
was this like
do.
all pre-planned or what? Were you adopted out when you were a baby or through CPS?
I think
You weren't taken.
I don't know. I think I was taken.
But then your birth mom kept in contact in a way enough with the adopted mom that she was.
I really wanted answers because apparently she would call my adoptive mother's work every week asking about us. I think that we were taken from her because she longed for us. When I met her, she had tattoos of our names.
But when you were 21 and you were visiting with her, I don't know. I can't really say what I would have done because obviously I wasn't in this situation, but I would have like slipped something in her back pocket or something to be like, I want to talk to you and see you without her, you know? I don't know.
At that time, I was in my angry phase. I was so mad at her. I was so mad at her because I really I never felt like I really fit in with my adoptive family. Like I always felt
and she never gave you a reason of why you were adopted. No one did, huh?
My adoptive mother gave me stories, but
like as if like you weren't wanted by your birth mom and making her want to like kind of hate her or resent her in a way.
She said that she was on drugs and that she couldn't provide for us and all the other stuff.
The main reason why I'm picking your mind, if you don't mind, is because, like I said, I have 3 boys, and I was pregnant with my youngest when my case opened in August of 2020, and my 2 older boys at the time were, I think, 5 and 7. They're 22 months apart, and so my middle child just turned 10 in last week, and then my oldest will be 12 in August, and then my youngest, like I said, was born 2 months after my case opened. So he was born in October of 2020. Because my case was open, they immediately took him from the hospital, which I only found out a month before. I didn't even know that until a month before. So I thought I was going to be smart, and I got myself into a women's shelter only for, domestic violence to try and make it seem like, maybe they'll let me keep him. And it was weird because I was in that, but I was also like using the county like to help with housing and stuff. It was the first time we've ever had to go into this as a family, but to kind of set up the scenario. So I'm in this shelter and coming there every night at 11 because they come to and like count, make sure you're there. And if you're not, then technically you can get kicked out. So I would make sure I was there every night at 11. And then in a couple hours, my husband would come pick me up, whatnot. And we were staying in the hotel as well. And the county ended up giving us a place, an apartment, like helping us to get in. And they pay like for the deposit in the first or whatever month's rent. And so I literally got the apartment right when I was about to give birth, but right when I was still trying to stay into the shelter. So literally it happened so, of course, against me in the fact that I ended up moving into this apartment and being too tired to want to go all the way to that place to be head checked. And then I gave birth the next week. And literally when the social worker came to talk to me after I gave birth, they made it seem like, so where are you staying? And I was like, I'm in the shelter type of thing. They, of course, called the shelter, and the lady there, the counselor, said, oh, no, she's no longer, a resident here because she's now missed 4 consecutive nights in a row of not being here. So of
Uh-huh.
course, then they went forward with, taking the baby in an emergency placement. He was there with a really nice young lady that lived by herself for like a month. And I even remember saying, I wish she could just stay with you, because I knew she had no interest in trying to keep my
Yep.
child. But then of course, a month into it, they do that all shady too, where I just get a phone call one day stating, hi, your baby is now living here with these people. And you're like, wait, what? Excuse
Yeah.
me? And then
Yeah.
next thing you know, you have this people calling you up saying like, basically, yeah, we have your kid now. And fast forward now, 4 years almost, they have officially won and adopted my son. And they can't have kids of
Sorry.
their own. They're a young couple. They're Mormon. They're blonde haired, blue eyes. Now, the only reason why I emphasis on that is the fact that my child is, half black and half white. And now imagine
Oh,
him growing up with his family. Not
yep.
only the religion part of it, I'm not trying to get all religious here, but I'm a Christian, and there's certain
Same.
things about certain religions that I feel like is really heavy on the way you live your life. And I think Mormonism is one of those. And the fact that they're both blonde haired, blue eyed, and my child is half black, half white. In the fact that he's going to every day wake up and be like, I do not fit
I
in
don't
just
fit
by
in
the
here.
look of
What is
me,
this? Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
fact that, they tried to play us as much as CPS did. And the fact that, we want to be here for you, we're sorry that you're going through this. But, my child was their first placement. So it was their first rodeo, basically, you'd
Mm-hmm.
say.
Mm-hmm.
They had a beautiful 1-month-old, healthy, perfect baby handed to them in their lap,
Yep.
and they got to keep him till this day. And they got their own attorney at the end. They were at my TPR hearing with their own attorney. Now tell me why you need an attorney, because they were saying
Because
terminology. Yeah,
no,
they've
I
had
find that a
terminology
lot.
like, we need to hurry this along because we need to keep our son. I'm like, excuse me? I'm like,
Excuse
I
me.
don't care if you adopt him and you change his last name, which they did, and they told me they would, but I will still be his mother till the day he dies, and I don't care what you say.
Yes,
And
you will.
so will his brothers, and so will his, father, my husband. And it's just sick to think, though. Again, we go back to that. What is in the best interest of the child? Well, they used against me at my TPR hearing that they were more worried about breaking the bond that my child had with the
Yep.
grandmother, meaning they were calling the foster mom's mom, which is a grandma technically. They were literally labeling her as a grandma, like as if she's related to my child. But they said they were more worried about the bond that they would break between my child and this grandma than to return the child back home with its biological parents.
They
I
don't
said,
care
so
about
fast
the
forward 10 years and you tell this to the 10-year-old, you think he's going to fly with that?
Yep.
I mean, good Lord. He was
Yeah,
only
because
bonded to them because they wouldn't ever let him not live with them.
well, look at you should look into reading some books like The Primal Wound. I'm telling you, it was eye-opening for me. A lot of adoptees are speaking out now on the fact that like
It's
we're
sad.
severing our spiritual and our biological connection, and then you expect us to be okay, and we're
The
not.
sickest part I can remember is there was one time at a visit where I would always do this with my youngest. Like if I'm helping him like eat or helping him do anything, I'd say, here, mama do, or here, mama get it, or mama, I'd always reference myself as mama. Well, then as it kind of was like maybe getting a year into the case, I started to realize whenever I would say mama, I would get that sense of he was kind of maybe looking around, like I'm thinking all of a sudden, is she calling herself mama?
She
And no
was.
joke, I kid you, she came into the room that day because we were at a visitation center, and all of a sudden, he heard her voice, and he turned around and he said, "Mama," and I lost it,
Oh,
and she couldn't even make eye contact with me. She could not make eye contact with me, and from that point on, she never picked up or dropped off him again. It was always them, the dad. And I thought, oh, you little coward, you don't have the balls to actually face me now, knowing what you're doing. But then it got better. She no longer would text me anymore. It was always me and her communicating. Now it was the father, and still to this day it's the father. But now he talks to me like as if I am so low, to where the last time we got to see him was, I want to say, March of this year. And beforehand, he was giving me the typical rundown of, you are not to call yourself mom. He is not to call himself dad. You are known to him as bios, BIOS, like biologicals, but bios. I'm thinking
yeah.
that sounds like some kind of disease, like bios. And then he'd go on to say, you could not bring any food or anything to drink for him. You could not try and separate him from us, or we will end the visit early, or you can't do this, you can't do that. and by the way, you need to tell Carter and Colt. Well, I shouldn't say my kid's name, but my case is closed. But by the way, you need to tell your older child and your middle child, which is their brothers, that they cannot pick him up because he's at an age now where he might cry. And just all of these bullet points. And I'm thinking to myself, who are you? But see, I have never to this day, and I'm hoping that one day it comes back in my favor and then some. I have never stooped to their level of, I don't even want to know what the word is called, but just so inhumane, like demonic. Like, how could you sit there and tell someone, do not call yourself mom? Yeah. Like, and it was so hard for me at the last time because as much as I didn't want to give him a reason to even go off of, there was one time he was coming down a slide and my middle child was right there and he went to do something. And then I said, oh, and I went, mom, look, and then I cut myself off and my middle child knew why I said it. Because again, they knew all these stupid rules. And my middle child, he's a Gemini, just like me and my husband, and he can flip to a different, I guess, personality. And he did something real smart, Alec, where he tried to still make like me reference myself as mom, if that makes sense. And I kind of wanted to laugh, but I knew what he was doing and I didn't want to feed into it. So I just ignored him. But later on, and I was like, in the car, I was like, you know what you did? And he kind of like just looked away. And I was like, why? And he goes, because it just made me mad that you can't call yourself, you know, mom. Yeah. And it's like, really, I know. It's like from a kid's point of view. And even my oldest child, he's my little, like, if he sees me cry, he'll like want to cry, but he tries to be real, like, I'm the oldest and I have to like take care of everybody. So he holds it in. But then that makes me cry more. Because you can tell he's wanting to cry, like when we used to say bye and stuff, or, you know, even to this day when I have to say bye to them, it's just, it kills me and it kills him. And yeah. So wait, I want you to finish your story about where you left off.
Well, I don't remember where I left off, but now you brought up
mom. I know we're talking too much. Okay. So hold on. We were at the fact that they had your youngest.
Okay. So yeah, so I have this other baby and the social worker gave me specific steps to take to get her, to keep her. And I did. So I get into the shelter and then they take her again and I got her back. It took me 6.5 weeks that time to get her back. They never formally opened a case on me. So then, this is a great one. It was last year, June 16th, I was in a car accident. And they took her.
Oh my gosh, that was just like yesterday's date.
No, 2021. 2000 or sorry.
Oh, I thought you said last year.
Last year.
Yeah, last year though. June. I know, but that was last year, literally a day ago yesterday. Yesterday was June 16th. The anniversary. So it's weird that you're talking about it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yep. Okay, so you got in a car accident and what happened?
I had some medical issue going on. My stats were everywhere. Like my blood glucose was 270. My lactic acid was 5.5. Like, I mean, my white blood count was through the roof. I had something going on medically and I got into this car accident and the officers just assumed that I was on drugs based on my past. They found within the first 5 minutes, they found my NA key tag on my key ring. And they said, well, this is obviously a relapse. Another officer, because I've watched the body.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
And another officer said, "Look for her car insurance information if you can even find it, since she's just a dope fiend." Another officer, while I'm on the ambulance, going, "Just hold on, just hold on, just hold on." I was obviously in pain. She goes, "This is the second kid I got to take today because the mom's a piece of shit mom." And I couldn't defend myself. Wow. I was altered. I also hit my head really hard on the steering wheel. Like I had a concussion too, but I wasn't treated at all. Like I was literally given fluids and sedated and released from the hospital. Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm here. You can keep talking. Sorry.
Okay, there you go. You're fine. So yeah, then I get home.
Now your daughter wasn't in the car though, right?
She was safely buckled rear facing and she was completely uninjured. She was
another opportunity for them to take her though, right?
Yep. That's why they took her. And so in the accident, they stole, I don't know who, I can't prove it yet, but the police said it wasn't in police lockup and the hospital said they didn't have it in evidence. My phone, my credit cards, my ID, my daughter's car seat. It was a Kiko Next Fit, so it was really expensive car seat. Her shoes, my cash, all stolen, all gone, just disappeared. So I'm at my house.
Was it picked up at a tow yard place though?
No.
Like, did those kind of people get a hold of it?
I got my car out of the tow yard and nothing was in it. And they said that they didn't have it. So
no, but that's why I wonder if it was the tow yard that took it, you know?
Well, here's the thing that's a puzzle piece in that is that my food stamp card magically appeared on my caseworker's desk like 6 months into my case.
Only that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess that wasn't of any use to whoever took everything else.
Yeah.
They figured you could have this back. Gee, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
And still to this day, you never got any of that stuff back?
Nope.
So somebody has all of that identity for you in a way. Oh, that's kind of sick to know.
Yep, and I'm paying $800 on a phone that I don't even have now. It was a Galaxy S22 that I just got.
You can't track it? You can't track it?
They turned it off. I tried to track it.
And they never turned it on to where you could have like pinged it through like your Google or something?
Nope. I tried. By the time that I got somewhere that I could, because I didn't have my phone. I was at my house I lived by myself. And so I get back to my house and I'm in total grief mode. I remember I wanted to put plastic sheeting over my house and like preserve it exactly as it was until my child came back. I was like, this can't be happening again. And then, so the caseworker from the year prior shows up at my door. I had the exact same caseworker.
This exact same? Oh, wow.
Caseworker, juvenile
officer. But what could they use against you, though? You were in a car accident.
They said that I admitted to acid usage and that I physically assaulted law enforcement and I physically assaulted hospital staff.
Do they have this proof on body cam?
Absolutely not. There was no physical assault anywhere.
Wow.
And on the body cam footage, my admission of acid, throughout this entire body cam footage, I'm saying yes with unintelligible speech. Yes, da 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 da. Yes, da 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 da. Like I'm talking to something that's. Oh,
so
there.
Yeah, they could just easily be like, that's what she said yes to.
Well, there was an EMT worker and a cop that are talking to each other, and you can't hear what I said. And the EMT worker turns and he says, "Wait, did you just say you took acid?" And I said, "Yes." And then he goes, "How long ago did you take it?" And the clearest thing I said in this entire freaking video, I don't do street drugs anymore.
Yeah. So the yes you said before that is what they took more forward than what you actually saying. Yeah. But then when you said a full sentence of saying I don't do street drugs, that wasn't valid enough to say you cleared up whatever you said yes to.
Yep.
Wow.
My drug test, my hair follicle, all my stuff is clean. Like I had pot.
So then why did they still get to keep your kid? I don't understand.
My attorney at the first court date, he said, because we skipped over all the steps and went straight for permissive placement because he was like, this is crazy. Like, I don't understand this right now. And I said, I know, right? So we went straight for permissive placement. And he said, when we walked out, he said, I'm so sorry. If this was criminal court, this would have never happened.
No, yeah, you have more rights as a criminal than you do as a parent. Mr. Davis says that all the time.
Yep.
I mean, it's sick. Like hearsay is admissible for like social workers and all of them, but hearsay isn't for us. Like it's all backwards with CPS, it's literally.
And you're sitting there in front of a judge and you got an entire
that is just on. Everybody's all on. Like they're a court-appointed attorney. They say you're a court-appointed pretender is what we like to call them because again, they're not going to fight the way that they should fight for you if you were to hire a private attorney. Because number one, that would be like fighting against your own team if you think about it.
Yep.
And number two, they're still going to go home with their same paycheck, whether or not they win for you or not. And then number three, it's like, you're just totally like, you're never going to win that way. You're not.
Yep.
Until you realize that, again, it's too freaking late then, because then they use this time clock against you. That was ultimately what made up their mind with my youngest, is that we've run out of time.
Yep.
But if we were to have one more year, the attorney of my youngest, I kid you not, in court, on the record, she said, I've seen that the parents, they've, made up all this kind of like, progress, I guess you want to say. And if we just had one more year, I could definitely see the child returning home. But we are unfortunately out of time. I'm like thinking to myself, how could you go home and sleep knowing you said that? You could have given these parents one more year in your mind and you would have seen the child go home. But yet now we're out of time. Like,
Wow.
that could have been extended if that was truly what they wanted to do, but they
And
didn't.
then when
And
they extend that time, they're gonna say, "Oh, well, they're comfortable there now." Like that's what they did
or
with my first daughter.
yeah, it's just, no matter what you do, it's just to know that she actually said those words. I don't even think she realized she said it. Meaning, if she was trying to give us some kind of like um, compliment, but at the same time taking our child permanently, I don't know what the point of her saying that was for. But I mean, again, it was just like we never turned the page 1 ounce from our visitation to anything as far as liberating it or getting closer. If anything, as the time went on, we realized we were getting further and further away from our kids.
That's
And the
how it
only
was with
reason
my
why
first
our
daughter.
oldest didn't get adopted is because my mom was willing to be the legal guardian because she knew, I think she kind of got an insight on this because a lot of people don't know this neither. If you adopt the child, your funding will eventually get cut off when your adoption is
Mhm.
finalized. But if you choose to be the legal guardian, you will get that money for those kids all the way up until they're 18. But yet you will still have the same rights as if like you had adopted them. So in a way, my mom is doing something that obviously is smarter for her because if she adopted them, she'd get no more money. And I think that's why they told her about it because she said, well, I can't adopt them because I'm about to retire and I'm not going to be able to afford to take care of them. And so then that's when they pose the legal guardianship option to them because they don't usually like
But
to go that route because then it's more money that gets taken from them, because
yeah,
they have to give to her, but yet they don't really want my kids to come home. So it's still kind of a win-win for them because, they'll just get less, but they'll still get something. But then that leaves open the door for me and my husband, technically, to still go back to court and terminate this guardianship and get our kids back. But we all know that we have to have everything aligned. Like they can't be able to
mhm,
find one little thing. Like now we're
mhm,
renting a house. So technically we have a 4-bedroom house where before we only had a 2-bedroom apartment. But I mean, and then my husband, has been working where before he wasn't really working like solidly like that because he had like mental health that he was dealing with that they used against him. But I mean, just little things
yeah,
like
which they
that.
love.
But Mr. Davis says, when and if I'm ready to finally, file this motion, which, the sooner the better, because again, they could now turn the time frame that it's taken me to now try and do this against me. But anyways, he says, once you try and do that, you have like a one shot at it, meaning you need to have private counsel, which,
Mhm.
hopefully then I'll also have the money saved up to hire Mr. Davis, but you need to have private counsel. You can't go in there and do it by yourself. And, you need to not give them one simple thing that they could use against you. And, they'll put my mom on the stand and we already know that
Yep,
she's against us. But see,
yep.
what she doesn't know is I have basically a journal. I mean, and when I say a journal, I mean, every day I'll say any kind of connection or communication that I have with my kids, whether it just be I called them 3 times tonight and they didn't answer, or I texted my mom this and no reply. But every day since my case opened, I have a detailed thing, even with my youngest, but that basically I can hopefully use as proof in the fact that, yeah, okay, my mom has had them for technically 4 years, but you know what? You know, I have
I tried.
basically all of these times of when I see my kids with just me and my husband. Like she moved to Vegas, and so that's another story. But so now I've been out to Vegas so far. This weekend will be 5 times. They moved there last December, but this weekend will be the 5th time I'm going. It's costed me all together with the room and the gas and all the activities we do. Because right now we have season passes to their water parks there. They have 2 of them, but all together it costs me about $1,000 every time I go.
Mhm,
So now this is
mhm.
going on my 5th time there. My mom has not offered me any money, not even when I pick them up, like for food or nothing. I still buy them their brand new shoes whenever they want shoes. I still buy them anything and everything they want. V-Bucks almost, I feel like every other night for Fortnite. I mean, I still provide for my kids out of my money. But my mom now goes as far as claiming my kids on taxes to where this year now is the
Yep.
first time I actually owe. And I haven't been able to technically file. I had to ask for an extension for the first time in my life because never in a million years would I have thought I'd owe. Well, yeah, because I don't claim any kids now.
Yep.
But yet she claims them. She gets this amount of money every month given to her to go towards the kids that she doesn't use. And then she thinks that she deserves to get to claim them. Meaning, what money of yours did you pay for my kids that now you deserve a refund for? I mean,
Right.
the psychology of even the brain is just so, you know,
It's
far
messed up.
from
It's so messed
reality.
up. I
I
well,
mean,
I
my
will
oldest
admit,
child begs, Mom, when are you going to get us home? I know so and so. Like,
but
he
they
just
don't
doesn't
understand.
understand the
They can't
logistics.
understand it. They don't understand
hmm
that we're doing
And I
everything that
told
we
him at one
possibly can.
time, which I probably shouldn't have said, but I was a little excited when I kind of heard it. Mr. Davis mentioned one time that it's not a solid like yes or no, but it's heard of more than not happening that when a child turns 12, they kind of will maybe take what the child's like wanting more
Mm-hmm.
into play. Like they will
Mm-hmm.
maybe take what he wants to do more seriously than if he were only 9 or 10. Well, I mentioned that to my oldest, and he's going to be 12 in August. So he has not let that go, and it just breaks my heart because he feels like the second he turns 12, no matter what, I'm get to tell him I'm coming home. And it's just so
Mine's gonna be
sad because
12
it's
in
not that
August too.
easy. Oh my
August what?
gosh.
August what?
22nd.
Mine's 25th.
Oh, and wait, what
Yeah.
year then was so
2012.
2012?
Yep.
Yeah. And see, all
Yep.
my kids, this is another thing that's kind of weird to me, but I kind of look at things like this anyways. All my kids are named as a C because my husband is one out of four boys, and they named them CK and then a CK. So Calvin, Kevin, Kenneth, and Carlos. So we had three boys. So then we named them, I probably shouldn't say the names, but my case is closed. Carter, Colton, and Caden. But then their birthdays are all on even days, even years, and even months. So we have like 8,
Okay.
12, or 8, 22, 12, and then 6, 4, 14. And then my youngest is 8, 10, 20. And so,
Okay.
like, just little things like
Okay.
that. I just, when us loving mothers think
Well,
about
we go
stupid
through
stuff
this.
like that.
We think about stupid
I
stuff
mean,
like that, like constantly.
because
It's like,
they're changing his last name, my youngest, and they
oh,
don't
that
know that
hurt.
I know what the last name is, and it is still a P, which is their last name. But I mean, still, it's just, why do you have to
But
change his last name?
why do they have
Like,
to do that?
why?
Why
Like,
can't
are they
you?
really going to try and sit there one day and let him believe that he's their biological child? The looks alone will tell him that, no, I'm not your child. So why do they have to go forward with changing his last name? Do they want to act more like that's my child when they take him to a school and they have to fill out paperwork or what? But there was no reason for that. I don't
I
get
don't
it.
understand it.
I
I
mean, to
don't.
me,
When you
that's
were
just as
talking
sick as you
about
can go.
it is when you were talking about how he was calling her mama, like,
Oh,
so
yeah.
this year when my daughter was taken after the car accident, at my first visit, I hadn't seen my daughter in a week, which aside from when the state has taken her from me, I've never been away from my daughter. And so I was dying to see my
Did they
kid.
even know? Did she even know your brother? Or was that probably the first
They
time?
put her with a foster again. So
Oh.
she was with my brother for 17 hours in 2022. And then this time she was with a foster. And so the first foster, she was not, we butted heads a little bit because at the first visit, my daughter was calling her mom.
Already?
After a week. And I said,
and how old was she at the time?
19 months.
Oh, wow.
19 months
And
old.
what ethnicity were they? Do you mind me asking? Not that it probably matters
White.
either way, but
White.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I still don't understand how they were able to keep your child in their jurisdiction with knowing you were just in a car accident and you had no drugs in your body. I mean, what was
Exactly.
even the charge or allegation?
The allegations were that I admitted to acid usage.
Oh, God, that's what they ran with.
Yeah,
even though there was no acid in your body.
And the caseworker added on there that I physically assaulted law enforcement and hospital staff, but there's no physical assault anywhere in the body cam footage. Nowhere.
See, you wonder how they can just still run with that then. It's like there's no proof. How can it still remain? And it's like, well, because they said so. Meaning whatever they say is like the law.
It took 11 months for me to get permissive
placement. Are you kidding me?
I just got permissive placement. It took 11 months.
Okay, now I've never heard that word. What does that mean? Permissive placement. What does that mean?
Placement here is when they come home on a trial. They give you
90
days.
Mr. Davis has said that so many times. There's no such thing as giving you your child back on a trial basis. If your child is safe enough to come back home with you for even just one night, there's no such thing as we're going to give you your child on a trial basis. That means you're playing with the kid almost with fire. Let's see if they kill her tonight. Like, there's no such thing. If you're good enough to have her back for one night, then they need to just give her back.
Check this. From the time it was 5 months in, I think, that I started getting overnights, and I had her for 3 nights. And then I went to 4 nights at 6 months. I had her for 4 nights out of the week.
You're like, what's the point?
Yeah.
If I'm good enough for 4, what makes you think goes on in the other 3? Like, just give me my kid back.
Yes.
You think I'm going to decide to kill her on the off 3 days? Like, I don't get it.
And I had, so the first fosters, she was coming back to me with some seriously suspicious bruising. And I was getting livid. And then at one court date, I came home and I screamed. I was like, God, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm supposed to be able to protect that girl. I can't do it. I don't know what to do. And then the next day I got called.
Hold that thought, because I know that you have a lot more to your story, or else I feel like you do. And I have my next show on. I have my next show on Wednesday, so I'll talk to Grace, or if you want to talk to her. If I don't have anybody that's already scheduled, I mean, I'd love for you to come back and do a part 2, because I don't want you to start into another good part of your story, if you want to call it, knowing that we have only technically 2 minutes left. And maybe we'll have Mr. Davis to actually be there on Wednesday, and then you can still get some legal advice, because again, he is like, I feel like he's just the gold of all gold. No, I mean, literally, I mean, I wish I came across him sooner in my case, because I feel like my kids would be home. You know, it's just, I found him when I was at my TPR hearing, basically. And the retainer, even though he gave me a discounted one, of course, you know, it's still a lot, because the main thing he also says is the further along you go in your case, just imagine the harder it is to fight, because, you know, everything that happens. But I mean, obviously, you know, you learn as you go, so you can't really make yourself be like shot in the foot for being like, you know, God, why didn't I do this sooner? Because you just don't know. But again, yeah, exactly. It's just sick to think that parents are hoping that these people still have a heart in them somewhere. You know, it's just like, I could keep going. But anyways, yeah, so let's just go ahead and end it there, because I know you have a lot more to say, and our time is basically up. And so if you want to come back on Wednesday, or if she says that I have somebody already, then maybe next Monday, but whatever, I'd like for you to come on and do part 2. And then hopefully, like I said, Mr. Davis will be there to answer your questions if you have any for him. So you can go ahead and get my contact information too from Grace if you want, and we can keep in contact that way, because, you know, I feel like you being adopted, I have a lot more questions that I'd like to maybe ask you, just to know what I have to look forward to, meaning the good, the bad, the ugly with, you know, my son, and hoping that they keep that relationship open with us. But, you know, it's always nice to have somebody that's lived through it, you know, themselves. Yeah. So, okay, well then let's go ahead and end there. And anybody watching that wants to come back for a part 2, hopefully it'll be Wednesday, maybe if not sometime next week. And then we'll keep in touch, Amanda. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.